Welcome to another lap guide. This week's daily race C is Dragon Trail Seaside, the correct way around. We're on the soft tyres, brake balance is rear 2. We have managed to run a 0.8 at rear 1 and rear 3, so not super critical, but rear 2 does feel the most comfortable. The maximum performance out of the GTR is minimising your non-throttle time. So every time we do lift off the throttle, you don't want to be lifting off too much. And back on the juice early, get that turbo spooled up and the car will pull itself out of the corners quicker than you think. And here we are on board, down to turn 2. Turn 1 is just flat out. So we're going to be braking as this ripple strip disappears under the screen. We're going to go down to third. Sometimes I use second, but third if you've got the car under control. Just second for extra rotation if you need it. A little bit of a lift in the middle of this corner. Try not to close the throttle too much. Back onto wide open. Really labouring the car out of that corner. Using probably a touch too much curb there, so just a itsy bitsy bit less. So flat out for the right hander, try and stay off this curb, unsettles the car a fair bit. Braking just as this shadow goes under the car. Second to help rotate, crack the throttle open on the apex, wide open throttle really quickly there, much sooner than you think. It spools up the turbo and pushes you out here down to your first sector. Looking for a mid 29 I think, or better, depending on your levels. So just a nice little lift here on the apex, straight back to wide open throttle. Nice little upshift 6 helps the car stay gripped on that right hander. And Dragon Trail in this car really is about maximising the wide open throttle time. Every time you lift off, the less you lift off the better, and the less we brake even better. So braking at around when the 100 sign is about to disappear past your roof there. We're going to use second late just to help the car rotate. Crack that throttle almost immediately. Start pushing the car. Sometimes you have to be a little bit gentle on your wide open throttle application out of there. The rear tyres do like to bag up quite a lot. Now the death chicane is flat out in 6th. So try and carry enough speed that you're in 6th before the chicane, so the car's nice and settled before we have to jump over these curbs. Just threading the needle nicely. The less movement on the steering wheel, the better. If you hit those bumps uneven on the entry, you turn in earlier than you think there. Really trying to straight line through them. If you hit the curbs unevenly, it unsettles the car quite a fair bit. So once again, just after the 100 sign disappears, pretty much where the curb's just about to go under the bonnet, we're going to decel into 4th, really trying to hold the speed up here. Plenty of part braking. Try and crack that throttle nice and early, and a nice little upshift there. That's probably the most difficult corner on the course. I was struggling quite a fair bit myself. I just found slow downshifts on the way down to the apex, and there we go, across the line. So on board for fast mode. Once the curb goes under the bonnet, second if you need to rotate, hold third if you don't. Little lift on the apex, touch less curb than that. Flat out right hander, braking as the shadow goes under the bonnet. Second to rotate, crack the throttle on the apex, wide open throttle pretty quickly thereafter. Nice little lift just as we're reaching the apex here. See if you can hold wide open all the way through here. So braking probably the 110, 120 meter down in here. Second to rotate the car, crack the throttle. Short shift third if you need it, if you're getting too much wheel spin. Picking up third early can dull that wheel spin just a little bit for you. 6th before we go through the death chicane. If you find you're arriving there really slow, try 5th. If you're flat out in 6th, that is ideal. Once the ripple strip's going under the car, hold 4th, 3rd, down into second, shoot it off the apex. And there's a lap of the old Dragon Trail. Enjoy. So on board chase view, making our way down to turn 2, decelling just as the ripple strip's about to disappear under the roof in chase view. We're gonna hold third. You can use second if the car hasn't rotated. Then we want to be back in third, pushing the car up the hill. A little bit of a lift as we move through the apex. Really just try and hold the car on the road. The less steering input, the better the car seems to turn. So if you find yourself understeering off the road, turn the car a little bit less. Flat out for this right-hander, braking as the shadow disappears under the roof. Late second just to help the car rotate, crack on the throttle. Can even get it a little bit before the apex there if you try. Short shift third if you find yourself wheel spinning too much. We're going to be in 5th gear, so this kink's just flat out. A little bit of a lift as we come to the apex here, turning in from the white line. Nice little lift, the car will just turn a little bit for you. Trying about 50% throttle. Up into 6th for the right-hander. And hopefully holding a similar line to that. Just remember to angle the cars to the outside of the road, trying to shorten the braking distance. So braking probably about the 130 meter mark-ish, what it looks like there. Angling to the outside of the road, turning in from the ripple strip, and late downshift to second to help the car rotate. The inside tyres can roll over that ripple strip just to help the car rotate itself around the corner. You can short shift third there to dull some of the wheel spin if you find you're having too much wheel spin. Ideally we're going to arrive at the second part of the chicane flat out in 6th gear. Turning in as the ripple strip ends on the wall. Straight lining it as much as possible. Making sure the car bounces off the second part of that chicane and lands steady. It's definitely worth a couple of tenths. Once again we're going to be braking as this ripple strip approaches the roof line. It's going to be down into 4th, then we're going to hold 4th for a little bit, then we're going to hold 3rd for a little bit, and then 2nd for the final part of the rotation. Crack the throttle, keep the rolling speed up. Touch of wide open. And then staying to the left hand side of the road. Not too aggressively, don't want to unsettle the car too much. So on board for fast mo now. So braking as the ripple strip goes under the roof. Holding 3rd, lift on the apex. Braking as the shadow goes under the roof, using 2nd to rotate, picking up the throttle on the apex, wide open throttle on the way out. Turning in from the white line, a little bit of a lift as we come down to the apex, straight back into it, trying to get under 50% throttle. See if you can simulate those lines. If you're having trouble, watch yourself, then compare. Make sure we're angling to the outside of the road, turning in from the ripple strip. You can use the apex of that corner to help rotate the car. Short shift 3rd if you're struggling with traction in 2nd. Hopefully we're arriving in 6th at this chicane. Turning in from the edge of the ripple strip, way back at the start of that chicane. Braking as the ripple strip ducks under the bonnet here, or roof. Holding 4th, holding 3rd, short shift 2nd. And holding the left side of the road for the run to the line. So here we are in bumper cam, making our way down to turn 2. Just decelerating, it looks like, as the ripple strip's right in the middle of the road, right in the middle of the screen, sorry. We're using 3rd, we can use 2nd to help rotate the car if required. Nice little 50% lift as we go over the crest there. Really trying to get back on the throttle as soon as possible. Keep the steering open. If you find you're understeering, less steering input will help the car turn a little bit better. Flat out through this right-hander, braking as that shadow disappears under the car. Second to help the car rotate, pick up the throttle nice and early. Try and squeeze in some wide open really quickly as well. We're going to be turning in from the white line, trying to get those right hand tyres on the white line. A little bit of a lift as we just come down to the apex, trying to go for a 50% lift there. Upshift on 6 on the apex of the second part of this super fast chicane, and using all the road on the exit over the top. So I'm thinking it's about the 130 meter marker we're going to brake, so definitely after the ripple strip starts on our left hand side. Angling to the outside of the road, we're going to be turning in off this ripple strip, really trying to shorten the brake distance. Second to help the car rotate, and we can use a little bit of curb to help it rotate as well. You can short shift third to help with your traction on the way out if you're struggling with traction in second. This chicane is flat out. Let's try and emulate a similar line here. I like to only use the left hand tyres over that part. Turning in as that ripple strip ends, straight lining as much as possible, trying not to unsettle the car through the second half of that. Will cost you quite a few tenths if the car starts to bounce and jerk around on the exit of that. It's going to be braking, I would suggest, with the ripple strip about halfway through the screen here. Yeah, just a bit past halfway. 100 sign there, just disappearing out of screen. Holding third. Second with part throttle around the apex there. Squeeze some throttle in on the exit, holding the left hand side of the road on the run to the line, just to shorten the distance. Not too aggressively, it does unsettle the car quite a bit. And on board now for some fast mo as we make our way down to turn 2, braking just before the ripple strip. Third, little lift as we go over the crest. Right hander is flat out, braking as the shadow disappears under the screen. Second to help the car rotate, pick up the throttle nice and early. Little 50% lift as we come down to the apex. About the 130 meter marker, angling to the outside of the road. Use second to help rotate, and the curb on the middle just to help move the rear around so a straighter exit. Can short shift third to help with the traction. Turning in from the end of the curb, straight as possible through here, minimum unsettling. Braking just before that curb. Holding fourth, holding third, down to second, squirting it off the exit, off the apex, and across the line. So thanks everyone watching, and definitely consider a like or subscribe if you haven't been here before, and I'll just leave you with the external view. Peace fellas.